Welcome back to another edition of Watson Watch, where we will be discussing Deshaun Watson's future. And today, I don't want to discuss the where, speculate about where he's going to be traded to. Instead, I want to talk about the if he's going to be traded, which I know everyone seemed to buy in and believe that he will be, which, I also would lean to right now. As I mentioned before in a previous video, initially, I thought he wasn't going to be. I thought he'd get his head coach, thought they'd work things out. And although they seemingly didn't hire the coach he wanted, Lovie Smith is part of the staff now. Eric Bieniemy is not going to be coming. But, there is still the chance that they work things out. It doesn't seem likely from all the reports leaked out by the media, by his agents potentially, and everything else. But, this is what we're going to talk about today. If he's going to actually get traded. And the reason why we're even talking about this, with what I just said, is that yesterday the Texans had a press conference. And in that press conference, a lot of interesting things was said. Now, their GM, Nick Caserio, to start off the press conference, he says, "Before we take a few questions, we want to reiterate our commitment to Deshaun Watson. We have zero interest in trading the player." So, saying that sent a lot of shockwaves through the media, through the NFL, through fans, through everyone. And saying that, they can say it doesn't mean they have to mean it. Teams do it all the time. People do it all the time. Saying this can make his value go up. Saying, we're not going to trade him, that tries to give them a little bit more leverage. That tries to give them a little more room to say, no, we're not trading him, and make other teams come with better offers to convince them to actually trade him and move on. So, after saying that, the new head coach for the Texans, David Culley, he said about Deshaun Watson, "He is a Houston Texan. I want him to be a Texan. The reason I'm in this position today is because he's going to be a Houston Texan." So they went further than just saying, he's on the team, he's a Texan, we don't want to trade him. They said, we're not going to trade him. They said, he is a Texan, I want him to be a Texan, and he's going to be. So far, they seem like they're not blinking. They're holding really firm on the fact that they do not want to trade Deshaun. But with that said, today Deshaun updated his social media profiles to simply say athlete in his bio, to try and move away from being part of the Texans organization, I guess, getting rid of that. And, this tweet mentions the stare down continues. Now, I think the whole just having athlete in his bio, athlete in his social media things, I don't think that's a big deal at all. A lot of players do it when it comes to trade negotiations, contract negotiations, or even just in the offseason when things are unsure. And some of them just have it like that anyway. You don't need to have it, everything about this team because, teams aren't loyal. NFL's a business. More than likely you're going to play somewhere else in your career. I mean, look at Tom Brady. Look at what Aaron Rodgers said the other day. He would love to be in Green Bay forever, but it's not all up to him, and it's not all up to the players. So I don't think that's such a big deal, not to get off track. But again, the question is if he's going to get traded. And with that in mind, we got to think about who really has the leverage. And it's complicated with Deshaun having the no trade clause, which I talked about again before in the previous video. Having the no trade clause, is he truly going to get to decide which specific team he goes to, which situation he's going to get himself in? Can he realistically say, I don't care what they offer, send me to the Jets, and the Jets only offer one first-round pick, or even crazier, Darnold in a second or something, and force the Texans to take that trade? I don't think that he can do that. I don't think that's realistic. I think regardless, they're going to need a huge deal to move him. And that means they could end up saying, all right, Deshaun, we're not trading you. We didn't get the deal. If you don't want to play, don't play. Sit out. And, we can see if it comes to that, which would be really interesting and keep this going for even longer, even more and more speculation, which it's already kind of out of control. It has also been reported through the last couple of days that the Niners reached out initially for Deshaun and that the price was way too high, which I agree it should be. They should be wanting everything for him. He's, a top 3 young quarterback in the league right now, just entering his prime. So I, again, don't think the Texans should trade him. I think they should work it out. But it doesn't seem like that's going to be an easy task to do based on how the organization's run, based on who's there and based on everything that's happened the last couple months. And it's pretty sad to see. I really like Deshaun. I could care less about the Texans other than how it helped out the Dolphins as a Dolphins fan, but you hate to see an organization being ran so poorly where they're going to be losing Deshaun and potentially J.J. Watt this offseason, two of your best franchise players on each side of the ball, and, seeing something that mismanaged, unless it was the Patriots or Jets, or Bills, as any other team in the AFC East, it's sad. You don't want to see athletes have to go through this. You don't want to see new coaches brought in having to deal with this where it's a challenge, but that's what makes it part of the job, I guess. So leverage. Who has more power in this situation, in this relationship right now? And I've been constantly going back and forth. I think Deshaun at the end of the day might get to choose where he goes, but it might not be, just the one team, as I mentioned. It might be out of certain spots, out of the best offers the Texans get. And at this point, with how far apart Deshaun and the Texans seem, I don't even see that, happening soon. I could see something crazy going down where the Texans reportedly get a great offer from Team X, and it's all reported in the news. Deshaun Watson's going to Team X, but he didn't sign off on it. He hasn't decided it yet. And then he ultimately says, no, I don't want to go there. Trade falls apart. Maybe he goes somewhere else, or it leads into him sitting out, games or even potentially the season, which it'll be interesting to see if the Texans organization is going to let that happen. If their GM, new head coach, what they're going to do. It's also been reported they've been pretty interested in Mac Jones, the Senior Bowl right now. Every team does work on players, so I don't think that's too much. I don't think we have to make too much of that. Again, the whole point of this video is to talk about the leverage, who has the power, and if he's going to get traded. At this point, it really does sound like he's going to get traded, which it's going to be insane to see. I can't wait to see what that package looks like. But it's really close. I think both Deshaun and the Texans organization has a lot of leverage. He signed the deal. They're ultimately the ones who are going to have to say, trade. I don't think there's any possible way that he's going to get himself released. I hope that's not going to happen. I'm not even going to entertain that. I guess at the end of the day, Deshaun does have a lot of power in this, signing the no-trade clause, and I think it's going to lead a lot of players in the future to push for the no-trade clause, but, to have teams push back on that as well, of course, seeing how it's going right now. So, ultimately, to conclude this video, it's really ballsy. It's really interesting to see how strongly the Texans are reporting that they want to keep Deshaun and aren't even entertaining it, which there are conflicting reports of course, of teams calling them, and if team calls, you're going to pick up, you're going to answer, sure. You got to hear what they say. But at the same time, I think it's more likely they're saying this to keep the price up for Deshaun for the potential trade and to push that up. So that's my thoughts on that. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.